Good day, everyone. Welcome to Real Conservative Headline News. I'm your host, Nathaniel Rajkumar. Starting off locally here in Trinidad and Tobago, Gary Griffith, former police commissioner Gary Griffith, calls for the Minister of Homeland Security to be fired. I fully support that. And also, I think John Jeremy should be fired as well. That is the Attorney General. And we should be calling upon the Commissioner of Police, Alistair Guevara, to resign as well. He said somebody must pay for this and not the taxpayers. Sadly, we all know that the taxpayers will still end up paying for it. Because even if, which I don't think will happen, even if Roger Alexander is fired, the Hadid still have full rights to be able to sue the state for wrongful imprisonment, right? False imprisonment and wrongful arrest. And of course, Gary Griffith most likely will agree with what I'm saying here. The recent decision involving individuals who were incarcerated for weeks have now been ordered released represents total incompetence at the highest level. Well said, Gary. The Minister of Homeland Security, who decided on his sole authority to incarcerate persons for months without evidence and without a charge being laid, based solely on what was described as credible intelligence, has now directed that they be released. So what happened to the intelligence? That's because intelligence is just basically rumors. Intelligence means nothing without valid evidence. This is tantamount to what takes place in a police state or a dictatorial country. I've been saying that for weeks now, haven't I? This is exactly what happens when someone who operated at a junior management level in the police service, who never led more than 10 people, and was never responsible for more than $100, is placed in charge of approximately 20,000 people and a budget of $6 billion, despite having no demonstrated leadership capability at the senior level. I've said it from the very beginning, this man was not qualified to be the Minister of Homeland or National Security. What on earth was Kamala thinking? Madam Prime Minister, what kind of spell this man put on you? The nation needs to know, you know. The nation needs to know what spell this man put on you. He could not even have qualified to apply for the position of Commissioner of Police. Yet he was appointed as a minister. And then we were making fun of the PNM for doing the same thing, you know. People putting people in these kind of powerful positions who were not qualified. And Kamala come and did the same thing, and probably even worse. This incompetence is now likely to cost taxpayers tens of millions of dollars. I think it's even possible that it will even end up in the hundreds of millions of dollars. The taxpayers must not be the only persons forced to bear the consequences. Beautifully said, Gary Griffith. Because we will end up, unless the law is changed to hold these individuals personally accountable, which should happen. But Kamala ain't gonna do it. The Minister of Homeland Security should be fired with immediate effect. Sadly, that's not going to take place either, because they already start to make a set of lame excuses to defend his actions. Somebody must take responsibility for this. This is what I've been warning about for weeks. It is a lack of proper intelligence that has caused the situation, he went on to say. Had the matter been as serious as the minister claimed, the intelligence gathered should have been capable of being developed into evidence upon which charges could be laid. The intelligent UNC people outside there, like David Welch and other of my friends, you all seem to be unable to differentiate between intelligence and evidence. Instead, intelligence failed so miserably that the authorities were unable to convert it into admissible evidence. Hence the reason why the Hadids were never charged. Hence the reason why both the lower court judge and the appeals court judges said the state did not have a proper case to continue. A reason why they could continue detaining these individuals. There was lack of evidence. They said it. They criticized it. They criticized it. And yet these USC fanatics continue to say, oh, but it's not a criminal case. It does not matter, but it was about the detention. And you need to have credible evidence in order to be able to continue justifying detaining these people without charging them. Smarties. The government then resorted to using intelligence, which can sometimes amount to little more than hearsay or rump-shop talk, exactly, as justification for incarcerating persons and depriving them of their second most fundamental right after the right to life, which is the right to freedom. The right to be released from custody if you do not have evidence to charge them. They were arrested, but to charge them. If you don't have evidence, you're supposed to release them pending further investigation. If you end up getting evidence, well then fine, that's different. This is no different in principle from what occurred under the former PNM Mighty Morphin Ghanaian, I will add. Mighty Morphin Ghanaian Copart Bicycle, no ham, no macaroni pie, whole strain, tighten your belt, PNM. I am saying that part. Because I love the PNM people to understand that I don't support their party either. So this is no different in principle from what occurred under the former PNM government in the Brent Thomas case, which he was virtually kidnapped after police officers were permitted to leave the country based on the authority of the then Minister of National Security. And you know, there's something that the UNC people and the Kamala administration condemns up to now. For fake intelligence led to that. But you have a problem with this, but you don't have a problem with what you're doing now. Hypocrisy. That incident may have played a significant role in the downfall of that government, the PNM government. So you know what he's trying to show the UNC now? You all are heading down a road of no return, you know. If you continue this way, Kamala, there's no chance UNC will ever win again. The present minister has demonstrated total incompetence and an inability to understand this role and function. Madam Prime Minister, if you take heed to Gary Griffith's warnings, and you fire Roger especially, but fire John Jeremy too, but mainly Roger, because Roger is the one that signed this video, you might have a chance of winning the elections in 2030. He also misled the country when he suggested that these documents simply came before him to be signed, as though he were merely a rubber stamp. He is not a rubber stamp. The minister alone has the authority under this law, not the Commissioner of Police, not the Chief Justice, and no one else. He has to make the final decision. So it's not that it is mandatory upon him to make that signing that paper, people. You understand that document? He has to assess it and then make the final determination. That is precisely why this law is so dangerous. A Minister of Homeland Security could authorize the incarceration of a Prime Minister, a Commissioner of Police, or any citizen based on the flimsy and subjective justification of credible intelligence. Credible intelligence is subjective, Gary Griffith said. It ultimately depends on the personal opinion and judgment of the minister. I just said that. It's him to make the final decision. It's not like he is mandated, as I said before. It's not like the commissioner sends this information or the SSA or whatever it is, sends this information and he has no choice. He has a choice. He has a choice to say, I'm not going to use that crap to detain anybody. Conduct an investigation and then bring something good to me. He didn't do that. His personal judgment has now embarrassed the government of Trinidad and Tobago. He has embarrassed the government of Trinidad and Tobago in so many ways during this past year. Kamala, for some reason, does not hold him accountable. So his personal judgment has now embarrassed the government of Trinidad and Tobago and could continue to embarrass this country before the courts, the Privy Council, and throughout the Caribbean. A head must roll, Gary Griffith said. The consequences must not be borne solely through the pockets of taxpayers. And trust me, it's millions of dollars coming up will be spent. The Minister of Homeland Security should be fired with immediate effect. My response, thank you, finally, for taking a strong stance when it pertains to Roger Alexander's incompetence, Gary Griffith. Because for days now, he was being vague. You know, he was speaking about hypothetical things in the future and whatsoever. Now, he did criticize the Commissioner of Police in the past or whatsoever, but he was kind of withholding, restraining himself when it pertains to the administration itself. Now, finally, has come out and made it clear, Roger Alexander himself must go. I believe that the UNC should have a vote of no confidence to remove Kamala as well, because for whatever spell Kamala is under, it seems as though Kamala will never get over that spell, will never overcome from that spell. Roger did well, boy. Roger, you really did well to be able to get our woman under that spell. I don't know what he did. Thank you for finally taking a strong stance when it pertains to Roger Alexander's incompetence, Gary Griffith. Even in my video a couple days ago, I said I was hoping that you, Gary, will become or would have become a bit less diplomatic when it pertains to the errors being made by this administration. People can accuse us of being traitors or PNMites. Everyone knows I'm not a PNMite. I will never support that evil, despicable, autocratic, tribal party. But we know that our main concern is that citizens' democratic rights are preserved. And that is what I have been concerned about. Concerned about our rights, our freedoms, our rights to privacy within our homes, so that police officers cannot just break down your doors and enter, kick in your back door and enter into your homes without having a warrant. The rights to citizens have a fair trial instead of being imprisoned for months upon months without being charged. The right to protest peacefully, of course, anywhere in Trinidad and Tobago without restrictions, without zones of no protest being put in place. Those infringements upon our rights, our constitutional rights, must stop. Kamala, end this SOE now. End this SOE now.
The recent decision by the Minister of Homeland Security to revoke the PDO of the Hadids, that being the same Minister of Homeland Security who initiated this same PDO on his own in the first place, is exactly what I've been stating for the last few weeks. Only in a police state, only in a dictatorial country, can a politician have sole authority to incarcerate someone indefinitely or for months without evidence and without a charge being laid. Just by the fact that this minister claimed that there was a plan to assassinate a prime minister, and something that is so serious, you as the person responsible for intelligence in this country, you would have been unable to turn intelligence into evidence for something that is so serious. That alone he should be fired. But in this situation, for a politician to have been given such authority, which should never take place, and for those people who might be supportive of this government, today it could be persons who are against this government. But what could happen in 2030? Would you want to have someone as a Minister of Homeland Security with the authority that can do this? And again, this was done because of the failure of taking intelligence to turn it into evidence to lay charges. In the absence of that, there must be natural justice. You cannot take away someone's fundamental right to freedom because of intelligence, credible intelligence. That is all it is. Credible intelligence could be a Minister of Homeland Security speaking to someone in the SSA, because the SSA is a politically appointed tool of the government. Most of the persons appointed there. Someone could just write a report, submit it to the minister, and you can lose your right to freedom. This is no different, before people decide to jump on this bandwagon and what I'm stating, this is no different to the last administration when the previous Minister of National Security gave instructions for the police to kidnap Brent Thomas. What we have seen here is the Minister of Homeland Security virtually getting authorization to kidnap the Hadids because of a flaw in the law that gives a politician authority to arrest anyone, incarcerate them without evidence, without charges being laid. This law is so stupid, it allows the Minister of Homeland Security to put the Prime Minister or the Chief Justice or the DPP or the Chief of Defense Staff or the Commissioner of Police under PDO. It cannot take place. It must not take place. This law must be changed. And the only reason this Minister of Homeland Security has done this is because he's taken front before front takes him. Based on the recent decision made by the Privy Council, where they virtually put a slap on him and said, you're totally out of place to expect us to rush because of the stupidity that you did. That is why it is he decided to do this. This Trinidad and Tobago must never take place again. This is an embarrassment to Trinidad and Tobago. It is an embarrassment to the citizens of this country. The citizens will have to pay taxes. Why should the taxpayers have to pay because of the incompetence of one minister? The Minister of Homeland Security should be removed immediately for this. And again, it goes back to the point. There are 20,000 people in the Ministry of Homeland Security. He is the only position that no qualification is required. You have selected someone who was in junior management, who was not even qualified to apply to be a commissioner of police. You put him as a minister. He doesn't have the capability, he doesn't have the knowledge, he doesn't have the know-how. And we are paying the price. And let me add, this decision is going to be a domino effect that is going to cause many other persons who have been under the PDO to now do the same thing. And it can cost the taxpayers hundreds of millions of dollars. This is not just one Alexander thing, this is two. Because the other Alexander, who has been going up and down in the length and breadth of this country, attacking the 1%, speaking about the Syrian Lebanese community, he was probably the trigger for it. So there's not one Alexander should be removed. Both Alexanders should be fired with immediate effect.
Weather report for Friday, July 24, 2026, Trinidad and Tobago. The official weather forecast for Friday, July 24, 2026 in Trinidad and Tobago predicts variably cloudy, hazy, and breezy daytime conditions with scattered light to moderate showers transitioning to a mostly fair but hazy night. Maximum temperatures are expected to peak at 32 degrees Celsius in Piarco and 31 degrees Celsius in Crown Point, with a maximum heat index making it feel up to 34 degrees Celsius. Minimum temperatures are projected to drop to 24 degrees Celsius during the coolest hours of the night. Relative humidity will range between 70% to 95%. Winds will blow from the east to east-southeast at 5 to 40 km per hour, bringing breezy conditions at times. Sea states are slight to moderate in open waters, with waves reaching 1.0 meters to 1.5 meters, while sheltered areas will remain calm with waves below 1.0 meters. A mild to moderate concentration of Saharan dust is present in the atmosphere, so individuals with respiratory sensitivities or air quality issues should take standard medical precautions. There is a low to medium chance of isolated heavy showers or thunderstorms, most likely impacting western and southern regions of Trinidad during the afternoon, which could lead to localized gusty winds and street or flash flooding.
Regional news now. The Department of Agriculture in Bahamas says it will launch a public education campaign and dog ownership amnesty in August 2026 as it ramps up enforcement of the Animal Control Act following recent dog attacks. That law needs to be enforced here in Trinidad and Tobago as well. You wanted dangerous dogs, you love pit bulls and whatsoever. They can be loving animals. I will never have a pit bull though. Right? I don't advise anybody to have. But if you want to have them, make sure that they're properly, completely secured in your premises. Don't have them straying, roaming the streets and balling. They won't bite here. You understand? Officials say fixed penalties, fines will be introduced for owners who fail to license, spay, or neuter their dogs as required by law. The department is also increasing enforcement. In the Bahamas, you have to neuter your dog. The department is also increasing enforcement resources and urging responsible pet ownership to reduce stray dogs and prevent future attacks. International news now. The U.S. has signed a nuclear cooperation agreement with Saudi Arabia that could pave the way for a Saudi uranium enrichment facility as part of the kingdom's civilian nuclear program. Well, I mean, you really don't hear Saudi Arabia calling for any kind of jihadist agenda to destroy Israel or America. I mean, okay. And most likely they will allow observation to take place and stuff. So, fine. Okay? Fine. Watch them. Watch them do it. Make sure and supervise them properly. I don't really trust any of those Arab states, I just don't. U.S. officials say the deal meets non-proliferation standards, but Israeli officials and some U.S. lawmakers have voiced concern that enrichment capabilities could one day be used to develop nuclear weapons. That's my concern. The agreement is expected to last 30 years and will now be revised by Congress. And then you're Trump, boy. Trump, you're making friends with the wrong people. You're making friends with Saudi Arabia. You're making friends with Qatar. Oh gosh, you continue to try to make deals with the radical jihadists in Iran. Trump, boy, you do good at telling you're doing it. Right now, how you continue to secure the Strait of Hormuz by attacking Iran, that is wonderful. I just have no faith in you, no trust in you that you will finish the job. That's the thing about it. Twitch streamer Hassan Piker has drawn fresh attention after displaying a framed copy of the New York Times front page from September 12th, 2001, one day after one of the most horrific scenes that I could remember taking place in America. I was much younger back then. It was a little while before my father passed away in 2001. So I have a lot of bad memories of that time. Covering the 9/11 terrorist attack in the background of his live stream. The display has reignited scrutiny over Piker's past comments about 9/11, including his 2019 statement that America deserved 9/11. My goodness, boy. You all have some really... But we have them here in Trinidad and Tobago too. Radicals. Evil people, boy. Which he later said was poorly worded and inappropriate. Poorly worded? You're a terrorist. That is what you are. The newspaper appeared in streams beginning earlier this month, as Piker told viewers. He had finally framed it and placed it behind him. Now, the thing about it is, as a Christian, when bad things do happen, I see judgment is falling, and God is causing judgment to fall upon people. When terrorist attacks take place, it's because people sort of bring it upon themselves as well because of sin and because of being naive, like how the New Yorkers right now, they're electing a bunch of jihadists into office and allowing jihadist sort of radical concepts to take control of their areas. So if something does happen, they look for it in that kind of way. Innocent people don't deserve to die, though. I will never support the actual terrorist act. Innocent people died in 9/11. People on a plane died on 9/11. They didn't deserve to die. Nevertheless, you could consider judgment falling on a stubborn nation. But I keep saying it over and over again. When judgment falls, innocent people die, you know. But the act itself, not if this was a natural disaster, that is all in God's hands. But with a terrorist attack that was perpetrated by radical jihadists that wanted to attack America, how on earth would I ever say that was right? How could I ever say that that was justifiable? Never. It was evil. Thousands of people lost their lives, innocent people. Firefighters that risked their lives to go and save people in those buildings also died. Years later, they're still dying because of illnesses they ended up having due to the toxic air and the dust and stuff like that. You understand what I'm showing you? So anyone that can actually glorify what took place on 9/11 and say that they deserved it, and praising the jihadist terrorists, in other words, something is wrong with them. They're not just saying that judgment fell, you know, because of sin or whatsoever, you know. They are glorifying the actual act, the terrorist act. That is madness, people. That is madness. But rest assured, if America continues, just like England, continues to embrace radical jihadists and they have forgotten what took place in 9/11, something worse might happen in the future. And I will not glorify it. I will not say very good for them. I will not say that. I will say you look for it. You look for it because you allowed it to happen. You allowed it to happen. That's what we mean by you look for it, right? It's like when you harassing somebody and bullying them and they end up fighting back, you look for it. Now, in that case, you deserve it too, eh? But in some cases, if it is you are ignoring the warnings that it happened to you, then you look for that. You understand? It doesn't mean I'm happy that it happened to you, but you allowed it to happen. That's basically what I'm saying.
Bible quote of the day. Psalm 66, 16-20. A testimony of answered prayer. Come and listen, all you who fear God, and I will tell you what he did for me. For I cried out to him for help, praising him as I spoke. If I had not confessed the sin in my heart, the Lord would not have listened. But God did listen. He paid attention to my prayer. Praise God, who did not ignore my prayer or withdraw his unfailing love from me.
Folks, that brings us to the end of today's headline news. Thanks again to everyone who continues to support my content. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Stay blessed and stay safe most of all. In Jesus' name.